I don't know what I would go in there thinking it was. Um, but it was I didn't get a good like if I tried looking at it from a newbie perspective. What is Hex? Who is Richard Hart? What was the purpose of this movie? I I think you said it. We both said it. It was almost like it was a trailer for something else.
I was saying that someone, a person I know put a post up that said, you know what, we're going to need to see the sequel. I mean, it does feel like that. Well, and to be fair, we're trying to tell the story of something that, frankly, is just not over. Like, we're really in the middle of this story. And it's hard to know where to cut it off. They would think, Hex was launched, it did its thing, it went way up and surpassed everybody's expectations, and then it has gone down like the rest of cryptocurrency, and there's been 80 million gut punches since then, not just to Hex, but to the entire, crypto world. And, I have a lot of respect, I think, for the person that Richard Hart is. But in that, it's not surprising to me that he has been not quite right a couple of times, because not everybody's right all the time. Even if they're smart, or like we like to say laughingly, directionally correct.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, what was, was the idea just to get the idea of Hex out there and what it's building, or what was the purpose of it?
Well, I mean, if I take movie makers at face value, which I do, I don't mean that with some kind of like tongue-in-cheek kind of way of saying it. It's just, they're like, look, we were looking for a good story. A good story has drama. A good story has questions. A good story isn't just they weren't intending some kind of puff piece about Hex that was a promotional material. That wasn't their intention. And I would say they did succeed in that.
Yeah. That's, I don't really know. Well, they didn't even, to me, they didn't even talk about really Hex, and maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed the,
and I think listening to them, I've also heard, the stock market, the crypto market is not interesting per se. People are interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that they were focusing on the person who is Richard Hart. I'm not sure, because I'm coming at it from the perspective of having spent a lot of time in these communities and understanding things, interacted with the material, interacted with the protocols. So it's quite difficult. Like, I really would like to sit with somebody that I believe would give this idea a fair shot, and what they would think, having not been exposed to it beforehand.
So, like, someone that has no idea whatsoever about it, and what they might think.
Well, yeah, but they would also, to me, need to be somebody that I respected for the fact that they demonstrated they have an open mind about things.
Yeah.
This movie is great. Well, it wasn't meant to do that. I was talking to some people. It was not meant to be like an onboarding film. It was meant to be is the Hex a scam? Is this person a scammer? Is this just another, nail in the coffin of crypto?
Yeah. Did you feel that it answered any of those questions?
No, I think that what G Money said was like right on and quite pithy. It's like, it just feels like a sequel is needed. It's not. Let me say this. There is a story there, but it's funny to try. I think that they were trying to create a story arc that had a start and a finish with some open questions. But we are like literally, I think, at like the beginning of the story arc, even though there's so much drama related to the entire thing.
Yeah. So too close to be what's the word? To be objective.
Well, I was saying that about me, yes, but I think that if I look at the whole thing, that there's been so many things that have happened that it really does feel like we should be close to some kind of an answer here, but we're not.
Yeah. So what do you think is the answer then? And want to welcome up on stage Phil as well. Doing well. How are you?
Good. What is BR1, by the way? Like, I just haven't heard this game yet.
It is a soul-based game.
Nice.
So one of the pieces on it is it's paid to spawn, and you get paid to kill.
Okay.
And there's just a lot of fun pieces within it. Here, let me. One of the things.
Send me something when you got time. Like, not now, but
yeah,
after.
I will.
Like, I do want to mention, like, there was a recent scam, like, I would say a month ago before I went to Sonia's, where, like, they were trying to ask people to be a mod. It was a super good looking game, honestly, and it was called Guardians of the Throne. I have it in one of my tweets, and they actually were trying to get a bunch of people to download the game, and basically it was an injection, a malware injection through your JavaScript to extract your keys and your seed phrases, and it worked really fast. And somebody that has done cybersecurity and attacks, like, this hits your wallet so fast that you don't even know it, so they must be going straight for the location of where your file stores the information for that JavaScript for your key and seed phrase.
Yeah. No, I too, I go through like some of those, those passes on that, especially on a lot of those download pieces. This was one where, like, I got, I sort of followed the community for a little bit, seeing them online through two different mints, and then getting to meet the founder and team, some of the team. Actually sort of made it, okay, yeah, this is legit. And then I've been playing it for about a month and a half now.
It looks like a fun game. It's even better than that zombie game that they were trying to play.
Undead Blocks.
Right. Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I still got my loot box in.
Yeah. And then so they were actually just at GG conference, and
okay.
They won, and they were at 3XP as well.
Oh, that's nice. Like, I'm glad to see people innovating on Soul, especially gaming. That's huge.
Yeah, and that's so
right on.
There's some cool. It's right now. It's it's a small community as it's building out, but what their idea for it is that instead of like what's the word I'm thinking of, Rumble, communities could use this.
Oh, I see.
So literally, like, you could play for stakes through the community and stuff like that. So new ways of engaging with the community.
Innovating and being able to talk to them. And I play at the same time. That's cool. I like it.
So there's some fun stuff there.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing this when I get back home.
Yeah, I tagged you on a link on that, so you can have that directly from me. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. How have you been?
Good. Sorry, I had to retweet your space.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing all right. I've been working on something I've been thinking of for security, because in college, you know, like I was like, okay, so I did CIS networking, associate science degree with Cisco networking devices. So I know really well a lot of information on routers because, you know, where I got the best of both worlds while I was learning, because when I was in the small college, I had to watch on the screen and do a lot of coding. Whereas when I went 2 hours away to the bigger campus, I worked with teams where I worked with switchboards, operators, and I mean all that those other things. Well, so as I kept doing that, because it was you're kind of sandbox. What I'm getting at is, there's I don't understand why MetaMask and all these other plugs, they don't have like a toggle off switch for incoming, outgoing traffic to somebody's wallet. It makes sense to me. To me, it makes sense. Now, there's ways to shut off the browser, so that way the browser extension isn't being collected. The data is not being collected, because people don't know it's being stored on their devices or where we're at or this or that. And I bet a lot of people don't even know that MetaMask is actually owned by Amazon. I just found this out last night because I used, some of my server tactics through cybersecurity. But what I'm getting at though is I would love to produce a project where, like people in DeFi don't have to worry about their wallets getting scammed, through these malware injections or anything. So that way they can shut off those ports, the incoming, outgoing ports, just by, like a toggle or two. That's it. And that's something I would like to kind of start building on, to help everybody out, because I think those are needed things. Make it easy, not something hard, and that's what I've been basically trying to look into and work on. But other than that, just construction and still learning.
Nice.
Having fun. How about you?
Just been doing a little bit of everything, as always. Last night we went and saw the Highest of Stakes, the sort of documentary on Pulse and Richard Clark, and So
where was this at? Like, where was this conference at?
Oh no, so it was a movie in theaters.
Oh, gotcha. I'm gonna have to watch this then.
Yeah, it just came out in Regal theaters. Movie theaters around the world.
I've been noticing that movies lately is more about the message than it really is about, That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, Eskimo, we were talking, you were given a little bit of a...
Philip, I'd like to say, if you know crypto, but you're not really in the hex community and you go and see this movie, I would love to hear your take, because it's tough, because if you're in something for years, like you just, you've been part of a community, you're like seen thousands of posts and YouTube videos and talk to people, and it's hard to have an unbiased view, or a view that like sees it from like knowing crypto. So this is the thing, it's like people who don't know crypto at all see this movie, I feel like it would just be like trying to see a movie in another language and there's no subtitles. But it would be interesting to hear the perspective of somebody who is in crypto, knows about protocols, knows about certain communities, understands crypto in that way, and then sees it. I'd like to hear their perspective.
Yeah, I'll drop a tweet after, I'll definitely drop you my opinion regardless. I'll send you a message too, on what I like watching stuff like that, just to get an understanding.
Well, the other thing is, I'm not sure you're going to be able to find it unless you actually go to one of the Regal movie theaters that is showing it right now. I think what they're doing is it's getting like its theater debut, and then I do think that they're hoping to be able to get it on a streaming service. I don't know what that's going to be, and I'm not involved in it. So
you get surprised by going on the internet because of my
you know what? And I believe that there's somebody who definitely one of those like early 2000 or mid 2000 like video of it on their phone. And you can probably find it that way.
Yeah, I used to use Put Locker, 123 Movies, the good old days. Right.
Yep. Yeah, those were. I remember I did that for a lot of Marvel movies.
Yeah, remember uTorrents or Torrents?
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, just want to do a quick shout out to those that are joining us on Xenon and those that are joining us on Twitch as well. You know, as we're talking about, you know, both, you know, what's going on, you know, in blockchain and like this. So Eskimo, you know, we're sort of seeing a little bit of this is coming out in like a. You know, you said the best of times, the worst of times, or I'm saying that. But how do you feel the market as we just sort of seem to keep getting punches? We've seen some ups too, you know, and we've seen a lot of different things. What are your thoughts on the timing of the movie?
Well, I mean, the fact that the movie was coming out literally 5 days before the SEC has decided to formally sue Richard Hart is interesting.
Yeah.
The weird part is, and I've read pieces of it. I haven't read the entire thing, but from what I could see, I think one of the most frustrating things is like probably anybody on this call is probably, you know, has deep knowledge of one particular protocol or one particular community, and I like the complaint doesn't, from my perspective, understanding the like hex or pulse. There does seem to be things about the complaint that don't seem correct. I do think somebody said that there was, I don't know if it's a disclaimer, but they're saying they use certain words interchangeably, but you can't use hex as a protocol and pulse chain, which is an L1, and pulse X, which is a dex. You can't use them interchangeably. They're different things.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how, from what I know, the law of judges, legal proceedings really expect there to be some level of precision, and if there isn't a level of precision, then that proceeding is going to spend a lot of time getting clarity on those things. So just before any of the actual mechanics of whether this is a scam or whether it's a security or whether it's, I think there's going to be a lot of time spent educating everybody that's going to be involved in the proceeding on the differences and what they're actually talking about. In other words, agreeing on terms, which is very often something people need to do in order to debate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I certainly I would not want to. I don't want to bet against the U.S. government in terms of what they are capable of doing. I've not been in the business of thinking that they're messing around. If they decide to go after somebody,
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting watching it. And I do think that people who are outside of the hex community should be watching it, because the law, the precedent, the things that are going to get worked out in this particular case,
Yeah.
are not going to apply to just hex. They might be much further reaching. And I think it's important people pay attention to that. You know, I mean, we're just sort of, I think the funny part is like the entire community, I think, has just been like, well, we got done with the XRP. XRP didn't quite go the way that maybe the government, that the SEC wanted. Oh, but let's just ignore that. Let's find this other case. This seems like a softer target. A lot of people hate Hex. A lot of people don't like Richard Hart. Let's see if we can go after these guys.
Yeah. How do you think that's going to turn out?
I mean, you're asking me a question. You're asking me to predict the future, which I cannot. You know, I mean, John basically being able to explain the law and the detail that has gone on in the XRP case. I don't hear him coming up to like be an amicus brief for Hex or Hexicans. I'm not really sure. It'd be interesting to hear his perspective on why he might think this is different. But this case is also being brought in the Eastern District of New York, which I find kind of interesting because, yes, they think it's appropriate because Uniswap, or there's a complainant that is in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
However, I wonder if the reason why they're not trying to bring it in the Southern District of New York is because they basically just got their asses handed to them.
They want to spread. They want to see if they can get something out of a different judge.
Yes.
You know,
Possibly.
do you
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Don't spend a lot of time in those circles, although I find it quite interesting.
Yeah.
Can you give me a trailer maybe on like the high stakes show just in case I can't find it around? I just want to get. Okay, so Hex, I haven't followed yet, you know, but I have followed the XRP case and all that.
So
yeah, so if you follow the XRP case, like I have, and I'm assuming you know who John Deaton is because he was the one who brought the amicus brief for XRP holders, and how that piece, and I think it's been fascinating over time, you know, about how representation, you know, works. And then there's not just the XRP case. I think there was like one other aspect of anyway, I can't completely I have spent a lot of time following it, but there are, I wouldn't even call them esoteric, but there are details about it that I'm sure I'm not aware of. I don't know what's going to happen with a Hex case, but it is different because I'm not even sure. Like, one of the things that they're really coming against him for is fraud, which is very different than what happened in the XP case where they're trying to say that this thing is a security or whatever. That's much more regulatory, as in might have wider reaching, you know, like impact on other coins. This seems to be much more of the person.
Gotcha. So it's more about the person, not like the whole community. Yeah, like the whole coin and everything.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, because I've only looked at one piece right now. You know, I mean, of course, I don't trust everything I read until I've read so many similarities. There's a thing, kind of my dad always taught me. He's like, son, you know, don't always listen to one side of the story before you make your judgments. Always listen to all sides of the story. You know, even if it's that person in the corner. You know, like so that's kind of the way I've always lived life. Is kind of like, you know, I'll make an opinion, but you know, I'll still listen to all the other, you know, facts before I really come to a full conclusion.
yeah. And that's a good way of looking at it, you know, and having that, you know, I think, you know, personally, because you never know what's going to be right versus what's going to be wrong.
No, I don't, because I mean, I've been told that, and these are conspiracy theories. I know this, you know what I mean, that a lot of the crypto exchanges or coins, you know, were they're block ops to figure out how or the financial, you know, like the QFS. I've known about the QFS for 16 years, the quantum financial system. You know, I never believed in it. Never said that, you know, I did, but I'm just kind of in that in-between limbo state, like, and gathering information still. And I found out, here, what was it, less than May, somewhere around 46 months ago, Biden 4017 executive order, it was basically to black hat, like any kind of cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And that's, you can look it up yourself, 4017 executive order, Biden is basically trying to, so I think they're trying to monitor it all because, think about it, like even FDIC, we learned that in college and business and everything else. So yeah, we did also in probably grade school, but what I'm getting at is, they're not even a governing agency. IRS, they're not even a governing agency, but yet they still, work with the government. It's just, to me, it's just so weird, when you start actually finding out the truth.
Yeah. It can be a hard thing, and, everyone sort of wants to say you got your tinfoil on.
Yep.
And, yeah.
But like the messages, they're called Thrive machines, and that's why Music 3.0 came out. And as we, I've done co-host spaces with entertainers, and they embed certain frequencies in their music, and it's hard sometimes to do, but they still do it because they're trying to make people happier, not put fear, in them because of certain frequencies in our body, and as we're vibing, and that's why they call it vibing. We're vibing in this space because we're all on that same frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to watch this movie now. I'm intrigued.
Like Eskimo says, we'll love to know your take on it because it left, for those that are sort of in the know, it didn't really answer anything, didn't really bring anything new to the table, at least from my perspective. Eskimo, anything different for you?
Well, again, I was talking to another friend of ours, and they were saying this really wasn't. It's not an onboarding movie. It's an eyes and think about it movie.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I am a little bit frustrated by is that yes, we can ask whether Richard Hart is a scammer, whether Hex is a scam, or one of the things it doesn't ask, which is actually rather frustrating, is is it not a scam in a failed type of asset class? Does it just not work? Because yes, you do not have to lock up your funds. You can choose to. You can choose not to. But does this thing have legs as maybe asset class is the right word, as a financial instrument? Or does it not? Or could it be picked up again and used differently? But people locking up their funds or locking up their coins, because it's not dollars. This is also one of the things that I find really interesting about all of this, is that cryptocurrency has not jumped into a place where, people talk about looking at your funds or looking at your gains based on Bitcoin or based on Ethereum. And people should, right? Are you doing better in your coin or your thing better than Bitcoin, better than Ethereum?
Yeah.
But what does it all come back to? We're still living in a fiat currency world for the most part. You can get around it a bit, but if you want to buy a house and you're still living in a dollar-denominated world, at least in the United States.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to get somewhere, and people do not want us to get there. This happened back before the dollar and the Federal Reserve and all of that. There were tons of banks who had different currencies. that all got consolidated. It basically stopped. And, I don't know, like, the detailed history of it, but the major thing is that they were like, let's use the dollar. Let's try to do it this way. And by the way, if you don't use it, we'll put you in a cage and we'll kill you. So, those are your choices. And so we did for a while. And then it's gotten out of hand and it hasn't worked very well. And people are looking for other ways. But like the last 14 years of cryptocurrency, there's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of people doing a lot of interesting things. But what does it come down to if you want to live your life? You have to, by and large, come out to fiat currency. You hope that whatever you made has grown against the dollar tremendously, and then you can bring it back into. It doesn't matter. You can be in Europe and you use euro or Asia and use a different currency, but you're still bringing it back into this world where the dollar has dominance.
Yeah.
And the people who run the dollar have dominance. We're never going to get away from this question. Are we going to be able to? I don't think we're going to be able to escape the question of, I don't mean it in a physical sense. Are we going to be able to, the question of whether the dollar lives, dies, what are we going to do? Are you able to live in this system, or in this system, or next to this system, or not?
Yeah.
Like, it's true. Like, because we don't know which way they're going, and, to me, it always felt like later on they're trying to, eventually create a one world order, but people are not going to want to, they're not going to want to have that to happen. And that's why we've had, I think it's close to $3 trillion out there that, we outsource too much, which wasn't a bad thing. It's just, the benefit for these big companies. And then, as we did that, and also, certain people causing the dollar to go from 3 trillion to 33 trillion. I remember seeing this in my business class. But what I'm getting at pretty much is that, we've been in crypto. You're right. We've been just kind of sitting here waiting to see what's really going to stand up against the dollar the right way, or what's going to be that stable, the right one. Or what's going to. Why do we have to have credit in order to basically have a house? And then.
Yeah, and you're like a student of business, so I'm sure you know some of the. You know the history of business. You know about all of these things, and people in crypto. It's quite interesting. A lot of people just never knew about some of the history of the dollar, history of currency and money, hard money, all of these different terms. Some people just got up or were told hey, go get a job and be a member of society and get a job and do these things. And I'm going to go off on a slight tangent here. I think that people should be able to go live their lives and do jobs that are not financial jobs, and not at the end of their life wonder how they were duped.
Yeah.
I think that they deserve that.
Yeah.
Right? Because we need plumbers. We need people who do 8 million other things besides look at charts all day.
Right, and that's why my dad told me to be a jack of trades. I actually have 4 or 5 certifications, almost 4 or 5 degrees, but I ended up getting a certification in this, certification IT, CIS networking, the cybersecurity. And then I got my degree in CIS networking because it made sense, because the next step was cybersecurity, getting your certification in cybersecurity, because that's how the hackers get in, is through the network. But I still, to be honest with you, I wanted to be a gamer, I wanted to be a programmer, but the problem was the digital media courses got shut down, in our facility, which made no sense to me. like just after, a few years of them being up. But we live, we learn, and then I went into construction. So I can paint.
But you see, like that's a thing that has a materiality to it, and that's not to say that so this is actually something that I kind of like about what you just said is when I was learning about like the Industrial Revolution from a literary perspective, but like learning about that particular time in history in England, they would always talk about, or like I would always read about the fact that like the people that were working in factories, or they were working these very like either farming or like very physical jobs, they like when they I can literally hear you killing people. But their R&R was books and like learning. They were not unintelligent people. They just had a particular job they did every day. And that's what I wish people understood about most people is like they're not dumb. They just don't do that every day.
Yeah, they're just not doing that one thing. That's, yep, I totally understand. I 100% agree with you.
Right. And Tyler, you asked me a question that kind of went off on like 3 tangents, and then we had more conversations.
I don't even remember it now. It was, I think, I don't know. I do not remember the question now.
I think one of the hardest things to hear this past week, with the highest, like the movie coming out and the SEC suing is them listening to people talk about people in this community as if they're less than other types of people.
Yeah.
And that they're incredibly vulnerable to people talking to them this way, as if that is what any political party has ever done. As that,
Regulations take a long time. Regulations to be finally. I served for 4 years. What else was really going on during that 4-year time? Behind doors that we don't even know about. These are the things I kind of think about sometimes. It's like, they ain't just ongoing court cases. There's lawyers talking. There's people talking. There's deals being made. There's, maybe they're construction. Maybe they're building. I don't know. But sometimes my mind gets going because it's like, I don't think it just stops at court. I think there's other things going on.
I think that, like, Elon Musk hasn't said it this way, but it's a really different world that he's dealing with, but he's like, we don't have time for all this BS. We have to like figure shit out.
Yeah. Now, there was the talk yesterday that I heard that crypto is no longer on the SEC's radar, but AI.
Oh yeah, and that's interesting because it's like, well, how are you going to square that with it being a security?
Data.
Are you just now the police of things in the world? Like, well, how does that work?
Yeah, well, so this is this is where my mind went, because I've been talking a lot about FinGPT lately, after meeting those kids that built that, because it has financial implications of markets. Is that where they would try to pull that? But then that's not a security. It's just giving people information.
Well, I think that they might be coming to a head, but it's very, very difficult for these things to change. Is we don't have the regulatory. The world has changed so much. The regulatory structure needs to change to address the things that are actually
Yeah.
And that's going to take time for people.
Yeah. Do you think that what would be the SEC's take on that? Like, how would they, in any way, shape, or form, be able to pull that one off? Or what would be their argument? What do you think?
What have they been doing? I have a hammer. Where's the nail?
You know, I'm asking for devil's advocate here. You know, picking whatever you can. How would you make the argument for the SEC?
Like, how are we gonna make our dollar stand? In my opinion, it's like if I were to try to be on like their side, which one I couldn't be, but I'm gonna try. Like, it would be like, how are we gonna make our dollar stand against anything to be able to even be something that could be a currency that's stable enough?
Yeah. So in that argument, how would AI be in any way, shape, or form a security? That, like, so I guess what's the word, what's the saying? The best way to figure out your enemy, the mind of your enemy. So in this aspect, how would the SEC make that case?
Well, it's kind of like these med bots and extraction, like maximum extraction value bots, arbitrage bots. It's not like they'd want them taken down. They'd want to be able to take advantage of, right? They would want to have control of such things to be able to, over be the ruler of the bot that can actually be the best of the best of them. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
If we're gonna play devil's advocate, like, they've always wanted to be on top, at all times.
Yeah.
So, and probably even have a bot that can destroy those bots if it gets in the way of what they're doing. And I hate to sound all really pessimist on that one, but we're diving a little bit deep here. So not only that, then they're gonna want to. I don't know. I just don't understand this whole credit system. Like, still, I understand it, but at the same time, if I were to put myself in the SEC shoes, we're just making it harder on people to make a living. And in the meantime, they're actually causing more destruction. In all these towns, in bigger cities, you see it. You see tents all over the place, everything else. These small towns are just living behind these bigger places, and crime rates starting to go up the roof. That's what I'm getting at. But they ain't even focused on that. They're more focused on what's really coming in their pockets.
Yeah.
How are they going to be able to continue being able to get away and do what the things they were doing? It's no different with. I didn't know even Tornado Cash was actually kind of part of this ZK roll-up situation where it was, they were trying to build something that can it could manipulate into 4 different transactions, and then the this is because out on the other side, on Tornado Cash, and I used to be against them, and now I'm for them because you think that they weren't using Tornado Cash? No, just they were using it the whole time, probably. Just until all of a sudden regulations had to start kicking in. That's when they wanted to start monitoring.
I think that there's this weird, call it organic. I don't know. It's so hard to know whether some people already have these they've already architected these things or not. But I think that when people find out that they can get a certain amount of data, from a government, the way they're positioned is well, we want that information. We couldn't get that information before. For example, I hand you $50 in cash, you hand somebody, you could do 30 transactions with that $50 bill. right? And everyone's satisfied because they know they got the $50 and then they got their good or service for that.
Yeah.
We've been doing that forever. And when I say forever, please understand that. I'm just saying, like, that's just been like very normal course of business or normal course of even just like human friend interactions, right? Like, oh, you did this, here's, you know, and we don't think of that as something that the government needs to oversee. And yet, when they started being able to get data about people's transactions, they want more data. Why? Well, because there's somebody sitting there saying, well, if I had this data, I could know these things. And I could do a better audit, or I could do a better this, or we could know if we're supposed to do as much as tax revenue. And I don't think it's benign, but I don't always think that it's like this horrible malignant thing, but it is in effect malignant. And what it takes is that you have to actually stop and say, do you need to know this about me?
Yeah.
Like, what rights are you actually curbing of mine by just casually knowing this thing? And now we have a world that is just data. Like, we have a world full of data. And people are going to use it. They're going to, just like you would if you're like, oh, this is a treasure trove of information. I can do something with it. Look, I can tell my boss I figured this thing out.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge thing too. It's like, okay, we had miners and all this other stuff, and all these transactions, and it's always been about data now. Like,
I think that one of the hardest things is like, look, when you can now know something, or you can now achieve something. Like, think of the sciences and some of the questionable things that are going on in science that really make people have to think about their morality or what they think should and could and shouldn't be done to people or whatever. But now you can do these things, and now it's become, or you can know these things about people, or you can do these things in science. The problem is that do you then say, okay. Way back when, somebody was able to instill somehow some level of whatever, like, of the Abrahamic religions you tend to be, or not, there's some level of commandments to the 10 Commandments, although they're not really called the commandments. I recently learned from the actual, like, translation. But, like, they're very instilled in us. But, like, now, that we don't have these, like, visceral reactions against them. Not all of them. Some of them actually do, because it does kind of humans of, like, or humanity or something. But we're not gonna, like, I don't know how we stop people from achieving and continuing to push on and being able to can do these things or able. So, how do we rein it all in? I mean, even the people who are being hackers, they're like, well, everybody hates crypto anyway, and I'm just stealing from the people who everybody thinks are, I don't know, villains, criminals, and reprobates.
Yeah.
And gamblers. So who's going to stand up for them?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, everyone wants to, like, right now, and that's the dirty thing. We've seen this with both Do Kwon and Terra Luna, and we've now, you know, one of the other big ones, you know, now would be CZ, now Richard Hart, taking personalities out of protocols. And when the SEC charges individuals for having protocols that are securities without proving the underlying assets are securities, you know, we have to fight on that behalf, I think.
I think that you actually just reminded me of something. And this is not the best criticism of a visual production, but I don't think it goes deep enough. Like, what are these questions? Like, this sort of fight for personal freedom. It's crazy that it doesn't land, but it doesn't, because people generally do not have these. They don't come up against the government quite in that way. Not usually.
Yeah.
Taco, we can.
I'm doing live gameplay at the same time.
Okay, well then I completely cede your space back to you for your gameplay.
No, definitely not. Can't do that. No, it's one of those things to where I think that blockchain has a moment, like we saw John Deaton come forward for XRP. Has the SEC bitten off more than it can chew in this? And that's a question that I've asked, and the question I've asked today is, on behalf of the SEC, fight for the SEC. How is AI security? I want to hear someone make that argument because I can't.
I think you're right.
So how can the SEC? What would if you were the SEC? What would be your argument for creating AI?
I would think they would go for it if there are tokens or people trying to sell shares of something.
Okay.
And making claims with regard to that, but like I don't know how that technology fits in their wheelhouse at all.
Yeah.
But if somebody was trying to sell shares or stock or something involved with investing in companies that are doing this kind of research and production, then maybe that's how they want to get involved in it. There is no, like, it seems to me like AI would belong, I could make maybe a better argument that it belongs with the FCC than it does in securities law.
100%. I agree with that, because like they take so long just to even get done with the regulation that they should have other like government agents or entities or other people or jobs being created to be able to have like regulations and to be able to monitor and help people with revenue, so that way like they can have jobs monitoring what AI does, like instead of, as people are building, so that way, there is a regulation. But if they're not, well then it's just about the money. Like what is basically blockchain? So blockchain is basically, gathering blocks of data, like what else? It's a big receipt, that's supposed to be transparent. But at the same time, a lot of people have been trying to block that, with these crypto mixers, this, that, you name it.
I think that the basic reason why they wanted to block it is because, not Richard Hart, Charles Hoskinson put this very well some either years or months ago. They are very happy with the lens being pointed at us, but they are not very happy with the lens being pointed back at them. The panopticon turns around and looks at them. And blockchain technology allows us to do that. And arguably allows us to be able to do that in a anonymous way, which is that we can know this data. We can really see what's going on. That doesn't mean that we need to pinpoint the actual person with an address, but we can see that an actor is acting in a certain way. And we could do this with budgets. We could do this with voting. We could do this with medical records. We can do this with these things. But there is a lot of interest in opposition of being able to do that.
I actually found a site a little over 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. It was dated for 2017. That site's updated since, but back then when I collected the data, the information I was reading, it was on decentralized identifiers, and it was a government site. It also had IBM, like Microsoft, like you name it, huge companies involved. That page is way, changed since then, but they also had 3 different other ways of how they were going to gather people's information when you go to the store, when you go to the doctor's appointment, like everything, anything you can really think of. They were just thinking of different ways of how they were going to do it. And as time went by, like my friend would throw me a video and I was like, oh, maybe this conspiracy stuff still again. It'd be like, go nationalize yourself. And I was like, what's that? So I looked it up and I was like, why do I got to nationalize myself? So then I went to go, get my birth certificate because I was going for my native heritage rights. And then I found out I had 2 certificates. It's like, why do I need 2? You know what I mean? I was born here. They're like, well, you have another one that's federal. I was like, oh, wow. Well, it just seems like it's collecting more and more data, more and more.
Well, so that's interesting. I think that's an experience I don't think I would have because I don't have that. I don't have the same heritage, but it's very interesting to me. So you're not to put too fine a point on this, and not focus on you if you don't want me to focus on you, but it's interesting to me. So you have Native American rights in this country, and then I don't know, whatever we call it, regular other citizen rights or something. I don't know.
No, they've been trying to take them away from our side of the family, all over signature. Like people that don't even have native heritage rights, has been. It's about the casinos, it's just horrible. So I don't really want to go there, but
I totally understand.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because it's interesting, but what I guess I found is that you need incredible legal representation to make sure these things are maintained. And it's very odd. I know that there's a lot of legal rights and things appropriate. I don't know, to do something different than what people have been doing for the last 150 years. Anyway, sorry. It's an interesting aspect of the United States. So you were able to, you found that you had 2 birth certificates.
We all do. Anybody that lives in the United States, yes. We all have 2. One is, just the one where you're born in your town and everything, and that's where I went to the office, and they're like, you sure you don't need your other one? And I already knew, my friend told me I had a second one, but I didn't really believe it until I went to go get my, one that was, the Umpqua tribe. But what I'm getting at is that means that our information is gathered in the on this boat, on all these servers. Server power takes a lot, so then we get back to blockchain, like we were just talking about, and these casinos. What is a casino basically? It's basically a legal way to print money. It's no different. We're gambling around. We're doing that similar sometimes when we're exchanging crypto coins, right? There's always a fluctuation. But I it always needs to be regulated. It seems like, everything always has to have a regulation behind it. Like, for example, like I know for a fact that, like we have three, tribes that are, where I live, and, they get close to 5, if not 15 million, a year just for preserving, the redwoods lands that they have. Like it's just one out of several other things I've heard from, governance or people that are in high power of, like some of the tribes.
Huh. It's I mean, this is going to sound quite ignorant of me, so I apologize in advance because I just don't have the time to look it up. Is there still a Bureau of Indian Affairs, or did that die?
Yeah, they do, and I don't. See, and that's where it's almost like they've been disconnecting and going into their separate entities, which is weird to me, because I thought the Bureau of Indian Affairs would cover all bases. But no, I think that's still like a work in progress. No different than these regulations taking time.
Yeah.
It's just, like, how much more time is it going to take? A video that I watched where, it was one of my speech classes where, they were making all these different jobs that we never even heard of. And I've only seen maybe a quarter of those jobs being created. And it's like, okay, if these jobs are being created, why aren't we being schooled the right direction to be able to, be in place of one of these positions? Somebody's going to have to do it.
Yeah. Okay. It's
I think you're right, Taco, though. And I'm sorry to put in here that, I think the SEC has bit off way more than they can chew.
Yeah. No, I you know me, I always love, I don't, we never know really where a conversation is going to go, and if it circles back to something, then I'm okay with that. It's when, I, me, I like learning from everything. Where I really try to keep everything as a round blockchain, just because, yes, that is one thing that I can focus on, and that other people can have a say in on it too. And yeah.
I do think you're right that they've probably bitten off more than they can chew, but I don't know if they even know that yet. I hope that there's really great lawyers that will be able to appear at this case. I hope that we're going to get great arguments. I don't know. That's all. I think it's going to be some years, and I think that I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be like there's so much energy and time and effort and energy that it was put into the XRP case. Like, hey, this case matters for the entire space, and then it got decided the way it did, and the SEC has basically refused to acknowledge that they
lost,
missed a step. And I don't know if the space has the amount of energy and zeitgeist to be behind yet another case. And the SEC is inexorable; like they'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Right.
And and they can do that because they know that out of all the other cases now that they have going on, they're just funding more and more blockchain cases, because this is the thing that still harasses me, tickles my pickle, is that the SEC can, no matter what, what's the word I'm thinking of? if it, no matter what money it makes, and from a case that it's protecting people from, it then it keeps that money.
That is one of the craziest things that I don't really know if has been audited by a citizen group. But the amount of money that these regulatory agencies take in from private entities, and basically it's a civil forfeiture of some kind, and then they ask for taxpayer money, and we don't. I would like to see that tally every year.
Because if they're just doing this, okay, this is what I'm going to equate it to. And this was how diabolical I was when I was younger. And I know you know this story. I've said it a few times, but basically every Christmas, I found that the more Christmas cards I sent out, the more money I tended to get back from family and friends, and so the next year I would invest more into more cards, and it started off, I was sending 20 cards, then the next year sending 40, then, till I was sending 200 Christmas cards each year, and so I sort of see that, like, this is what the SEC is doing. It is looking for more people to go after, to just pay that fee and fine, and so it can go after even more. And it's not benefiting anyone really. It's just going into the SEC's pocket. So
And to me, it's like, I try to think about the other side. It's like, okay, well then, we clearly live on debt. So if there's all this money they have, that's going in their pockets, I would hope that blockchain is kind of opening up the portals to be able to regulate that. So that way we don't have this, debt ceiling, whatever you want to call it, national debt ceiling, But what I'm getting at is so that way it's more transparent. We have to live by this debt, to understand where our dollar falls, or where, the US dollar falls, not ours, but, I'm getting at.
Yep. I do.
It falls back with the blockchain, so what? They want to gather more money. Where is it going to go towards the debt ceiling? I mean, is it going to, or is it just going to keep doing the same thing they're doing?
And that's the thing. If it is just more money for their pockets to hire more people to go after more things, without creating regulation,
morphed into something entirely different. I think it used to be that it was actually possibly all right, think about it this way. Imagine you're a person and somehow, if you have $3,000 worth of debt, that's doable.
Yeah.
It may not be fun, but it's doable. Somebody suddenly slaps you with $3 million worth of debt. It's no longer doable. The entire, the way that you would, even look at this shifts.
Yeah.
And what I think has happened with the debt and the trillions of dollars that have been added, and I don't know if you know, it might have been crypto a little. It was somebody recently just said, we just added another $1 trillion worth of debt in the last, I don't even know, short amount of months. It's no longer a doable figure to actually pay back. It is now a number that's now being used as a cudgel for something else. It's not real anymore.
And it's not. And that's the thing that sucks about it, is you can't. It's not a real number, like you said. And I don't know what to do about it. But obviously there's nothing I can do about it, you know, but what is everyone else supposed to do?
The people that are in power know what I just said.
Yeah.
It's not a real number anymore.
I would agree with you on that. You know? And so then the question is, what can any person do with it? You know? And if it's not a real number, does it not matter anymore? And if it doesn't matter, why does my debt matter?
That's why your personal debt matters. You have to pay that back.
But
this other number is so esoteric at this point. It's so abstract. Who do we owe it to? The people we're about to go to war with? Who do we owe that money to?
I don't even know.
Nobody asked that question. Who do we owe that money to? Are we about to, we're moving, aircraft carriers within these waters? Who do we owe this money to? So, it's a number out there that is supposed to now be, people are using it for their own ends. Whether it's political, or it doesn't matter. But you're $5,965, making that number up, that you owe on your credit card, you will work to pay that off.
Yeah. And I will be happy if I'm able to do that. I will be happy to work menial jobs.
Yeah, and you'll actually feel accomplished because you're out of that wages. Kind of debt.
Yeah.
That's what people do.
You know?
Will there be some sort of national holiday if we got ourselves out of this kind of debt? Should we all work together to pay it off? Who are we paying off?
Those that own the debt right now, which if what corporations, something that I heard the other day that was interesting, of who better to with the Euro coin and Circle's USDC, but that then gives BlackRock, if everyone moves over to USDC, then BlackRock gets the opportunity to buy debt and buy everyone else's debt and buy back the US debt. So that could be something to where, it's just interesting, instead of any country holding the U.S. treasuries, a company. And that's the start of where we've that's how every dystopian future movie starts, is so-and-so corporation X, bought everything. And, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting a little too tinfoil hatty, but I don't know. As we start to see more and more companies come on blockchain, it will be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see what happens, because it's not going away. One of the things I just learned the other day, Colorado is now putting, I think, business licenses on blockchain. And
yeah, there's some really interesting things. Things that definitely have to do with the up and down of the top 100 crypto coins of the market, but the practical applications. I think there's a lot of people that are very open to the practical applications of it. we were just talking to a great friend of ours, and talking about real estate and titles and how to be able to use blockchain in that industry, which I think is an incredibly obvious industry to use in. I think that there's a lot of, the one thing I want to say, this seems to be a generational thing, that where, like, people who are younger than me, so, like millennials and people who are, like, tech natives, are very open to the idea of using blockchain as a solution to do a lot of things. We literally have an issue where our power structure, there are more people in Congress over the age of like 70 than like there ever have been. And that is taking a toll on our ability to move forward with new technology and solve real world problems with the technologies that have been created.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm sick and tired of just thinking, I guess we'll just wait for them to cycle out of Congress, when you got people like Dianne Feinstein who, her power of attorney is with her daughter. I don't think that person, bless her
heart,
should be voting for 40 million people of California right now.
Yeah. I agree with you. And it sounds, there should be, this is a really dumb thing, but like, every time you go get a new driver's license, you have to pass an eye exam. At what level, though, do we say what constitutes a disqualification?
Well, the thing with senators, again, they have 6-year terms. Don't talk about very often. We think about the presidential term, we think about the congressional, like the House of Representatives term. Pretty sure senators have a 6-year term. They have become like corporations unto themselves. They have money drivers, they have money like congregators and power structures that have been built around them that are basically a corporation, which is why she's still there. It's because that money, that corporation does not want her power structure to disassemble. Disassemble. And everything that we try to do, like, we should have term limits, we should do this, we should do that. Some of it will work, but it doesn't actually work. It lies the real problem. People don't want to give up their power. They don't want to change what they have been able to build. They don't see it as a ethical problem.
No ethical problem there. So, I guess then, what all representatives need to be AI then?
Now I want to actually like see some articulation of that in like a movie or something. And like all representatives are AI for their particular state and like what they gather from each like from social media or different things from their state. And it'd be really interesting to see what all of those different representatives would come up with.
Yeah.
Because maybe they'd be so representative of their particular state. Like we, I don't know, look at license plates or, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. That would be, well, so then the question on that would be, if that's the case, how, who is that actually representing? Are you making that AI only representative of all the IPs that it finds in its district, or overall, and it just votes with an overall world consensus? Or, how would it be trained on what to look for? Or would you just give it the data of that county that it represent, or the state it represented, and said, what's the best decision for this state? Not and almost dictatorish, go above and beyond of what it votes for what's best for the state, not what necessarily the people might like. Oh, and we got, and I do want to do a quick break piece just to shout out to everyone joining us on Xenon, those that are joining us on Twitch, Discord, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, obviously. This is TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen. We have a couple people requesting that I'm bringing up. Yeah. I know Liz is connecting in just a second, but Eskimo, what do you think? Would it be a AI that's a representative of the people, state, or just its own, what it thinks is its own best decision?
I think almost everybody that is in this conversation would think, okay, well, who's starting the inputs to whatever that is? I just thought it'd be funny, just the idea that an AI gets to look at the social media of state citizens and then kind of come up with its own idea of what these people want and how to represent certain questions at a federal level, right? Yeah. And I think, it's just as an experiment. I don't know if it would matter. It would be funny to see what happened. Somebody might be like, hey, everybody from Oregon wants, there to be, I don't know, something super serious, and everybody from this state just really wants there to be carrot casserole at Thanksgiving. I don't know. What would come out of that? Whether it be meaningful or whether it would be amusing, or probably some very it'd probably be both.
Yeah. And we have let's see here. Let's add. We got a couple other requests coming up. So, yeah, no. It's an interesting piece. Hold on one second. I gotta invite someone back that got kicked, I think. I don't know. Eskimo, play that out.
That might have actually been my fault, because I'm not used to being able to bring people up, but I wasn't trying to ever put someone off stage.
No, I know you weren't. So cover that a little bit more. Play that out.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is when Taco says, can you talk so that I can do something else, because we need a little bit of time in the intermission. Okay. Well, Zach Keller has a hand up.
It pronounced Phil.
No, there's Philip, and then
I
there's
know,
another person.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, no.
Zach Kelleronitis, official.
Yep, that's me. That's probably one of the closest things I've ever heard someone say to that name. And when they screw it up, I usually go, "Oh, it's pronounced Phil." Actually, I want to. And then there's actually a Philip in here, so that's awesome.
That's why I got confused. I was like, well, that can't be. There's another one.
Yeah.
A couple things that I want to add into your AI being government and speaking for this or that. I think that the input needs to be based on the laws that are in effect and the laws that were in effect. And it needs to have some kind of range of parameters for laws that will be changed. So it needs to come up with its facts. It needs to have what it used to be, how it's changed, and then possibly what it could change. And that might be a little on the edge. But I think that representative of an AI should be for the people and for the government, because the people don't always agree with the government. They don't always agree with the people. We see that consistently. But there needs to be a multitude of, how would I put this? There's got to be a multitude of answers that can come through that all agree together. So, like, basically, the AI is its own Congress or own Senate, and it would just it would be like flipping a coin, but with a lot more thinking power. You know, because you can only vote yes or no on a law, but how do you go a case by case if you were to implement that into let's say a judge's position or a jury?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, can I give a dumb example? I'll give it's not a dumb example for the people that were involved, but I saw one of those things, and I think that they're kind of like emotional bait that we always see on social media. But it was like, cops stop somebody who's driving way over the speed limit. Why are they driving over the speed limit? Because they have a sick child in the car. And what does the cop do? He doesn't give them a ticket, stop them on the way to the hospital. He, facilitates their way to the hospital and tries to make sure that this child is taken care of as quickly as possible. But this is the thing, it's like I'm reading that thing and it's emotionally driving me to say, hey, this guy's a great guy and people are good, which is nice. However, probably that's completely that's an algorithm that's basically solving for the fact that I like things like that. Why does this matter? Oh, because so how do we... I do think that sometimes the reason why people are not given harsh sentences is because people have compassion. How do we build compassion into, this is the law and you're either right of it or left of it? That doesn't work in our society. We have places and times where compassion or different things need and feel right. It feels right to bring that understanding into a sentencing or an issue that's been going on legally. And I don't know that algorithms can quite do that for us. So I don't know if AI can do that for us.
Yeah. So I think what in an AI sense, though, compassion is really taking all of the factors into play. So, do you think not that an AI could do that possibly better?
I don't. So this is the thing that I think a lot of people are been trying to ask about this is, okay, when you about something as a human, I'm going to say that's something, and when I I mean by that is, I do not think that the way I operate is that different than the way a lot of other people operate. I realize that we have our differences, but sometimes I see a situation happening and I have an emotional I have rationality. I can back off from it, but I have an emotional reaction to things.
Yeah.
I would think other humans are like that too. Like, I don't think I'm that different from, the rest of humanity when we see certain things.
Yeah.
I think, I haven't heard anyone say it this way, but I don't think we believe AI feels like we do. And one of the weird things is that we either sometimes think that's a good thing, or we know it's or we feel like it's a really dangerous thing. What do you all think of that?
Personally, I'm taking a lot of ethical courses and stuff for the counseling, and I mean, AI, if it's delivered the right prompts, we have to at least give it a chance to feed it the information to know what it's going to respond and if it's going to have empathic abilities to be able to communicate in such a manner that it shows compassion and empathy, like you were saying earlier. The empathy part is just a huge part.
Yeah, that is, I think, I haven't put it well, and we're trying to get into it. I think that's one of the things that I haven't heard people say something that way, but I believe that part of being a human is like having rational judgment about things, and sometimes you have to be more rational than compassionate. But that empathy for others, even people you don't know, but like the story that is happening in front of you, maybe wanting to help or whatever, or yes, it might be true that someone ran a red light, but why were they running the red light? Like, we have these stories happen, like we talk about these things in ethics all the time. Can AI discern to come to a judgment or better than we can or like we can, which is, by the way, imperfect completely, but does it question itself? Maybe that's the way to say it. Does it question itself? We do, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to, and I was fortunate to have a sheriff in, like my ethics and racism course, and luckily, like his wife, was, like two different genders and never felt accepted with, not genders, sorry, had, she was Latino and then she was also had a different ethnicity. And anyways, what I'm getting at though is she never felt comfortable in either or, depending on what area she was at. Like say they were in the Bay Area or something. But what I'm getting at to the point though was it was good, strong information to see that, even a sheriff, he's like, I've never been fired at more until I became a sheriff, and, then the teacher was like, I never knew that much, about what a sheriff or even a cop goes through until I've been on a cop ride. So, we do need people that can question themselves, even if they're AI, we need to see that happen, and we need to run those tests. We need to see if AI can just have all this information just come through and just be like, hey, I have these choices. Am I going to question myself to have empathy behind this?
Yeah, I think I finally, by the way, thank you for this conversation, because I think I finally got to the question I think is does it turn around and say, did I do the right thing? Or now I have this new information. Okay, I don't know. I was 21, but I thought things should be done a certain way. And about my life a particular way, and now I also might not be right now. I could have been more right then, but by whose measure? You know, I just have, I would say, more life experience, and that's supposed to say to you, oh, well, you're more right now because you have more experience. No, I was making logical connections at a particular time in my life, and now I get to look back on that, and I don't. If I could go back to being 18 and make different decisions, would I do it? I don't know. I don't have to know because I don't have the opportunity.
Because I knew I wouldn't have grown up to be the person that I am right now. You know, I wouldn't have gone through the same life lessons that I needed to face in order to be a better person. That's just me, though. I can't answer for.
No, well, but what I mean is, like, it's almost a luxury. This is what I was saying about myself. Take it for what it's worth. It's a luxury to be able to say, oh, I would do it differently now. Well, because you can't go back and actually do it again. So you can use this point of, like, looking back on, like, a past self and say, oh, I would do this differently, or I wouldn't do this. But you can't go back and actually do it again, so you really can't prove it either way. But you can use it as a way of storytelling.
I disagree. And this is going to be a far-fetched explanation for this. The first part of it starts with, you know, when you go to the light and after you, like, supposedly pass away, and you're supposed to go to the light, they say. But if you turn around and go directly behind you, there's like a whole other world. That's where the quantum physics level comes into it. So if you're conscientious enough to be able to do this, you'll stop repeating it over and over again, which thus will make you be able to change the decision in which you made, so you won't keep reliving that over and over again in your next life, if you guys believe in that. Now, with that being said,
so I'm super with you on, like, if we want to talk about it in that sense. I really like actually talking about things like that. Well, the reason I was saying it the way I was saying it is, like, sometimes we get a little lazy as we get older. We see things like, if I could just go back, I would do it this way. You know, like, you can't actually.
If I could turn back time. Yeah, agreed. I wish I regret a few things, a few decisions. However, that's what made me here I am today. But I guess I don't worry about it because I know I can't go back and change it, and when I can, and someone says, here's the button, I go back. I don't care if it changes me who I am. I know what's happened along the way. Those things are happening. That doesn't mean that I'm going to gain all that knowledge by going back. Will I be in that body again and make those changes? Maybe I'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again, but I don't worry about things I physically and mentally cannot change. If I can't make an active choice, then there's no reason to even think about it. It's a waste of time.
All right, well, we should definitely then move on to the next subject.
I think it's a really good tool for self-reflection, though, because if you're thinking about what you've done in your past or what you could have done differently, I think that helps you educate yourself for what's yet to come. You know, being able to set yourself up for success and deal with failure as it comes and goes, you know?
That's why I like the CBT, on myself, which cognitive behavior therapy. You know, it made me, like, relive some of the things I did and question and then answer and then see what my next time, like 6 months down the road, the same paperwork would be a totally different answer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm on the horrible co-host because I'm not really exactly sure how to just turn this back into cryptocurrency and blockchain, because sometimes
it goes that way, and that's okay. One of the things I do want to say is welcome for everyone that's joining and stuff, you know, as we've sort of taken this, expanded it beyond, you know, as we were talking originally about AI, the highest of stakes, the newest movie that sort of I don't know really what the purpose of that movie was. I don't know if it was a documentary. A documentary on what? 7 different storylines that I just got to see the start of. You know, to I'm going to shorthand this, and I'm not dismissing anyone's view because I just like to sort of, but governmental oversight overlords. And then we have this. You know, would you do it again? Existential crisis. Would I give away? Would I sell all my Bitcoin and give away all my Doge? No, I wouldn't.
I would hope not.
But who knows? I might have lost it. One of my I actually realized I said a fib last night. The reason I have so many phones is because I've never lost a phone. I've never broken a phone to having to upgrade, but I did actually lose one phone like back in April, which sucks. But the more we collect in our life, the more knowledge we have. Does that mean that it's the more we're going to lose? So if we knew everything coming into this and did this again, what information would we lose along the path? Would it be relationships, experiences that made us who we are? Would we be completely different people? So, yeah, I guess the blockchain turn of it would be, I would help,
Imagine if you had blockchain data of yourself, verifiable blockchain data of yourself, all the way from I think that.
Now, are you talking records
when I say
or
showing
data?
My age, I don't mind doing it. I kind of sit in between. Like, I grew up mostly without cell phones, and like socially, like my early socialization didn't have anything to do with cell phones. But like don't I think it. And maybe this is the way it's been positioned, is like, I do think it's kind of sad that people don't have the right to make complete idiots of themselves and then let it be able to be washed away for, like, that they have, like, that stuff sits on line or sits on chain. They might be 35 years old now, and something they did when they were 16, they have to continue to look at. We didn't have to do that. And that's what I was talking about before. It's like, now we have the ability to have all this data, and now we actually have to ask the question, should we have it? Do we actually want it?
Yeah.
We have to ask more mature questions than ever before, because when you couldn't have it, the question didn't have to arise.
Yeah. Well, I guess good thing, but shouldn't be around? Like, I guess.
So I always think of Emily Americans. Maybe you don't know this, or like maybe you do. Emily Dickinson is like this linchpin of American literature. Why? Because she wrote these amazing short poems. They're very pithy and very specific.
Yes.
Well, the reality is that her family wanted to burn all of it.
Yep.
And like, it was basically like I think it was her sister-in-law, I can't quite remember. Someone in her family said, no, this stuff is important, and we should make sure that it's printed, and we should do that. But she wanted it burned. She didn't want anyone to know about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, we have access to certain things, like, that. She's changed people's lives. I mean, that people have, like, you know, like, she changed people's lives. 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 Like, she changed
Emily Dickinson is one of my favorite
got
poets.
inspiration from the kinds of words, the kind of Americanness, the poetry that she was able to put out there. But it was private. Like she wasn't putting it out there on Twitter all the time. It was like private notes to herself, essentially.
Yeah.
And some other friends of hers. And now, because someone decided that we could see it, we have this entire piece of American literature. Why is that important?
Gives
I think I
insight.
lost my train of thought. But
Insight that we normally wouldn't have.
well,
and that's
almost
different.
against her will.
So
like,
that's,
if she came back 30
Yeah.
years later, like she would have been like, why does everybody know my intimate thoughts?
yeah. Well, no, I'm not. I guess there was a difference between what you were saying on that and what I was thinking. You know, that's personal stuff. I'm talking about like stuff that is done, you know, publicly or, you know, under, you know, what we have all the time now of people that did something in college and, you know, they never thought it would see the light of day, and it's coming up now. That type of stuff.
And so, but I think that, like, I legitimately think that those people, when they're doing that thing, they're just in the moment.
Yes.
And then they realize that they have to reap the repercussions of that. And it's a very chilling effect. It means that they won't express themselves if they realize that. So everybody tries to tell them, like, you realize that you're going to, like, this is going to be online forever. Well, it chills the emotion out of their entire experience of life, because now the experience of life is about digital media and doing these things, and people are using it as like evidence against their character instead of part of like the motion of humanity moving through this digital media space, contributing to it.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm a little torn on all of it. You know. All right. So I want to roll this back because I didn't. You know, I got some conjecture, but not any true opinions. I don't think I didn't hear them. Highest of stakes, and I'm going to go back to this until I get that answer. Eskimo.
What answer are you looking for? Like a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Well,
What's your question?
So one of the things we decided, it's not an onboarding movie. Would you agree with that?
Oh, about the movie still. Yeah, I can't answer that. I haven't seen it.
Eskimo. You would say it's not.
I don't want to take words out of a friend's mouth. Like it was somebody else said that it was not an onboarding movie. I tend to. It's not meant. What they were trying to do was create a drama and is he a scam? Is this a scam? Is he a scammer? Is this a scam? Or is this a legitimately? And this is the thing that's very hard to land. Is this a new way of dealing with money? That's shorthand for human interaction, of being able to exchange goods and services. Is this a new way of doing things, or is this just a scam?
Yeah.
And that is a really hard question to ask and answer, because it is, other than, is there a God? Like, this is one of the hardest questions for us to be able to answer, is how do we value things?
Yeah. And all right, so with that, you know, would you use that movie as a way to sort of if they're like, what is hex or what's going on with hex? Was there too close to the situation to say that there was no information in it?
Yeah, I'd say I'm too close to the situation. I'd love to hear other people's take.
Yeah. I don't think anyone else has gone to it that's up on stage.
Well, what do they think? Like, what? I'd be interested to hear if they'd like to share, like, what they know about hex, or don't know, or think is interesting, or think is stupid, whatever.
I'll jump in. I just did a little bit of reading about. It's supposed to follow the movie. It's supposed to follow him, Richard Hart, and the evolution of hex. Right now, in the what format it was made, I'm not sure. Is it supposed to be based on a true story type of film? I'm not sure because once I see it, but I would imagine it would be based on a true story documentary thriller. I think that's what it would be. And then it's up to the public to decide what they want to take out of it. Is he a $1 billion con man, or is he just a regular dude that is going to get rich? And he's goofy as shit. He's not like socially. He's kind of an awkward dude, but I like that about him. He doesn't care. He's a terrible dancer, but he doesn't care. It's fine. He does weird shit because he can. He just doesn't care. But I think it's because he's got all of his money. Now, I'm on the same boat of not caring. I do a lot of weird things, and I have a lot of self-deprecating humor when I go into some chats here and there. And it's a lot of people, they scratch their head and they go, what the fuck's wrong with that guy? Or they laugh, or they're like, oh man, you got to come back. Or, I try to always provide some kind of entertainment value. And I think that's what Richard Hart was doing, is the more and more people he can get involved, whether he was a scam guy or not, maybe he was and now he's not because he's got all the recognition and he's got to follow through with what he can't scam anymore because it's gotten too big.
I'm going to say something that is going to sound to you both completely that I've drank all but Richard Hart Kool-Aid, and at the same time is what I really think. And those can be both. Those can be the exact same thing, and I maybe won't know it. I think that he is really trying to get people to understand that they're in a system that, because it's all around you, completely ubiquitous, like you're immersed in it since birth, really. You can't see how your goods and services, whatever you can provide to the world, is actually being devalued, and that you could try to do this thing, and it's a shot in the dark, but it's a shot. And during that time that you learn about this shot in the dark, you're going to learn something about the world. I do think he's genuine. I don't think he would like me. I don't think that he would find me interesting at all. But I do think he's genuine. I've met plenty of people like him. I remember when I first started watching his videos, I was like, I know this guy. I was at parties with this guy. Like, he's a couple years younger than me. I've been at parties with this guy forever. He's the one who's really smart. Definitely feels like he's part of the crew, but somehow a little disenfranchised.
He kind of has to, but he doesn't he kind of force his way to be part of the crew? Like, he's a little too smart for his own good, but based on the social, I guess, adeptness, or no, that's not the right, the social awkwardness that he's got, like, is due to the fact that he's smart. And if you're trying too hard like that, it's usually pretty noticeable. Like, I've always been socially awkward myself. Like, I just wanted people to leave me alone. And then when people start poking me, I just pick up chairs and throw them. Like, don't poke me, just leave me be. It's very clear. There's a sign on me that says leave me alone. I do not bother. And you can't expect that to not go badly if you poke the bear. But I don't know, why does it matter if he likes you or not, or if he...
No, what I mean is, I don't. Well, okay. What I mean is, I do not expect that a person like him would recognize that I recognize him. I remember thinking a long time ago, like, oh, you were the funny, sarcastic guy in the black t-shirt sitting at whatever party. You were always there, but you thought nobody liked you. And you didn't notice there was a whole bunch of people standing around you and laughing at your jokes. Because, again, just like the time that he grew up in, he wasn't noticing the people who cared, like, were focused on him. He was noticing people who weren't.
Oh, that makes sense. I definitely, if I were to put myself in the place of that, it would be, I didn't go to those things. I literally just holed up in my room, waited for high school to be done, and then went to the world. I just did not want to deal. Like, I kind of see some of these social platforms as like another high school for adults that couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
And it's really tough to have a civil conversation with most people and accept your rights and your wrongs, and that, you know, changing your point of view and understanding others' point of view is a big thing. It's so much fighting and it's too much competition and less collaboration. And I think that's, you know, we need to re-engineer the way we think.
We were young, and competition was kind of like our little engine. Like, I recently just went to a high school reunion. Not everybody in high school was there, but a good amount of people that I was lucky enough to either continue to be friends with, or there were some people there that I hadn't seen in many
Was it
years.
your 20 year?
We'll just say it was one
Yes.
of them. And
I just went to my 20 years, so.
And I got to sit down with a woman that I essentially, like, what she said to me was like, hey, tell your mom I said hi. Why? Because she remembers my mom doing brownies and Girl Scouts with her. So she has that nice memory of my mom, which is fantastic. This person and I, we were never friends. When I say friends, we were never unfriendly. We just never connected through high school, all these things. We sit down and talk to each other because now we're adults. And one of the funniest things we said, like, it was a little bit of self-deprecating, but I was like, oh God, I was always like this. And she was like, oh God, I was always like that. And what I saw in this group of people was, I did need to go out into the world and, like, see more, because these people are, like, now like my brothers and sisters. Like, this is a very, yeah, there's a lot of goodwill in that. When we were just like kids and we were like, oh, I gotta get away from you, you're like the worst, and I gotta go out and find better people than you, and you kind of come back and you're like, I don't know, I've seen a lot of people and met a lot of people, and they were great, but, like, you guys are pretty good. Like, I didn't need to run away from this as hard as I tried at the time, but maybe that's who we were. Anyway, the point is, like, it was quote unquote nothing burger, but there's no one-upsmanship. Everybody was just chill with each other, and that was great.
So how is everybody's Saturday going? Segue.
It's going good. I'm that is what I was sort of looking for there, you know, going from gaming aspects, you know, the what we have coming up, and I don't know what more is going to be happening, in this coming week. Eskimo, is there anything excited on your radar?
Like, I don't know enough about that game that you've been playing. It's been kind of funny. Every once in a while, all of a sudden, I hear your game.
That's how I was like, what the heck is going on? I didn't realize you were broadcasting like you always do, but that's what it was. What is the game called?
Bravo Ready 1. Bravo Ready Corp is the game studio. So it's BR1 and Infinite. And so they've been around for a minute, for 2 different mint cycles. Got to meet the founders at the Solana Hackathon. They were recently at the 3XP and the GG Game Conference. I think they won an award at the GG. And so it's a first-person shooter, but the idea behind it is, instead of like Discord rumbles, communities can rumble against each other. So
Okay.
yeah, there's some interesting stuff there that I'm excited
so,
to
like,
see.
Hex could do this game against another community?
Yes.
Oof.
Like Hex
Boy, that's
versus
like
Gen. Vampires versus scammers.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
It's like China going against Austria. Like, there's some communities that wouldn't stand a chance just by sheer numbers.
So it's interesting to see sort of how different things, and so it's a first-person shooter. Some cool stuff back and forth, as it builds out. And, what they're looking for is, they'll be able to build community trait packs and stuff, so communities could wear skins based on their community, there wouldn't be any, what's the word I'm thinking of? Perk to that, but to wearing your community skin, but there would be some cool stuff there. So where you can wear your community, and so you can sort of wear your skin, I guess. But it's a fun piece, so as far as FPSs go, first person shooters, I've sort of liked it, and it's small, and it's building something out big, I think. So yeah. But yeah, no, that's the game I've been playing. As always, I'm bullish on Solana. I'm bullish on what's being built out there, and I think one of the big things we're seeing coming up in the Solana ecosystem right now is the art scene is really coming out. So I think that's going to be really cool.
Hey, can you talk about that for a second? Like, what's coming up in the art scene of Solana?
So
Art.
Yeah, a lot of one-on-one artists are coming out, a lot of art creation platforms, and
art creation platforms.
So where people are able to upload their art into NFTs and have storefronts custom built for them, pre-made,
Yeah, that's cool.
So there's a lot of cool stuff going on there, I think.
I like that kind of thing because I've gone to a couple of conferences where I did try to go to like talks where people were basically talking about like what artists are up against, and sometimes things with blockchain seem to be like a solution in search of a problem instead of like, hey, here's our problem, can you help us fix it? And that is pretty important to me because I think, so anyway, like the idea that like you're a new artist, you don't know about blockchain right now, but like you may want to make digital art in 6 months, and the idea of you being able to put that out there, promote your own stuff, but like you didn't miss the boat.
Nope.
This is the thing with I don't like the way the crypto world works right now. Is like if you're not in from like a million years ago, you've missed the boat and there's no point in getting in. That doesn't help bring anybody on board.
Yeah.
So the artists, like people being like, oh, there's these new technologies that I can use that I can decide to use, and they might be easier for people to use rather than like we know people who are incredible artists and also incredible technologists, but that's not everybody who's an artist. And if it's going to be that kind of high bar, that is going to stop people from getting into the digital world.
Yeah. No,
or hamper them.
There's a ton of platforms that are making it easier and easier, and as we sort of say, no code solutions, especially on like different traits and layers within NFTs. So I think there's some really cool stuff going on there. Right now we have Solana Summer going on in Nashville. I gave my ticket away to that. I had tickets. I had 2 tickets actually. I got and gave those away to a friend that was able to go. And so getting to see some of the stuff that's coming out of those artists and stuff, I think it's really sort of highlighting community building. And this is where it's really funny. Is one of the big things that there was 3 questions that was put to some. His name is Clay, I forget his last name, but he runs a coin tracking site, and he seems to have a pretty high opinion of himself, of being able to see tokens and stuff, and doesn't consider Richard Hart a scammer, doesn't consider Hex a scam, but Hexicans, cult or not a cult, he was like, yes, a cult. So my question is, are all of these communities that are being built around a community a cult? Or this is the question then would be considered, are people like Rihanna
a cult?
Yeah, well, is like Rihanna a cult?
What considers it a cult?
Can you leave? I don't even know. I'm sure there's some definition of what a cult is, but I don't know if there would be.
There is a definition, and I don't think that's adequate, especially based on like new information and the way of seeing life. But yes, there are definitions of it.
Let's see.
But
what
like, it's a Federal Reserve System a cult?
A cult is
similar belief.
A cult is a small group of people who share beliefs and practices that are considered deviant or outside the norms of society. The term is often applied to a religious movement.
Small group.
That
what
exists.
If you have a large group of people who believe in one particular thing because they've been forced into believing it?
Yeah. Cults are typically led by a charismatic and often self-appointed leader who excessively controls its members. Leader orders the beliefs, behaviors, and customs of all the other members. Cults rely on secret or special knowledge that is revealed only to initiates by the cult's founder or his chosen representative. Beliefs aren't normally published. I don't know. I think I've seen everything from Hex published.
I mean, imagine trying to apply that to a lot of things in the world.
Yeah.
And having a problematic relationship with some of those applying and not applying.
Well, I think I'm also in a project called Cult that says it's not a cult. I don't know. But yeah. I know I don't have all the secret knowledge.
I think we got excited. Somebody else was trying to talk a second ago. We just got excited and started talking.
Phil. My name is Phil. Pronounce this Phil.
Oh, I wanted to go back to his name for a second.
Oh, you wanted to
Zach Killeronitis.
Official.
That seems Greek to me.
Well, yeah, kind of in a way. The thing about the name is, one is official because I didn't know when my other Twitter account got banned. I have no idea why. I appealed it. I'm not giving in. I just didn't follow rules. But I also, during that time, using my Twitter account very often. So I don't know if somebody hacked me, but yeah, all of a sudden all my followers appeared. All the people that were following me, 0, 0, and that was that. So last name might be Greek partially, but it might be more certain because the itis it comes from.
So I was right about there being a bit of a Greek heritage
Yes.
piece of it.
So the name's got like 3 or 4 kind of major parts that are a part of my life. Like Zach, XAK is just a different way of spelling Zach, ZACH. Killa was just, that came from Call of Duty back in the day. This is old gamer tag. The RONI, Ronin, like the Ronin way of life, the samurai without a master.
Yep.
Not essentially following that mantra, but like it still, I have my own ways of doing my own thing. I like being by myself and doing my own thing. And then the King Leonidas, because I love the movie 300. Good night, Spartans, to burn hell.
I love it. You know, please do not take this the wrong way because I mean it in a very,
Well, when you say it like that, I'm already getting ready to take it wrong.
this as a compliment. That sounds amazingly American, dude, to me. And I mean it in
I'm your man's man.
I mean that as a compliment, not a detraction at all.
You're taking away from my masculinity and making fun of me in front of my friends, and it's bad.
I was not. I was.
Wait,
okay.
you're around friends? Yes, you are. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I give you the right to do that. I'm not going to take it personally.
What? Wait, hold on a second.
That was a
Here's the
joke.
thing, and
That was a joke. No.
Okay, I'm glad it was a joke, but I do want to clarify myself just a teensy tiny bit here. I don't know what I sound like. I don't know who you think I am or whatever, but I grew up with like normal guys who thought normal things, and apparently those normal things they used to think aren't so normal anymore. But I think they are American.
Okay, so can you elaborate on a couple of them? Or at least 1 or 2 examples that they thought were normal?
Yeah. So I've always liked being able for people to have what's the word that I want? Gosh darn it, I need to think of this word because it's a considered aspect of life, like reading and being able to find, and like one of the things, like, okay, your entire name, you're talking about Japanese heritage. Okay, that means that you've read something or you've taken in something, whether it was from comic books or not. You've taken in other aspects of men, the world, masculinity, and you've woven it into your own identity. Americans do that. We've been doing that for hundreds of years. And just as people, we've been doing that for hundreds of years. Like, I don't know,
kind of
we're
what
an Italian American. Like, yes, we can divide ourselves all the time, but sometimes we actually do encompass a whole bunch of things as well.
Isn't that what it was about to come to America? Is that anybody could come here and you could become a part of a better culture, a better way of life, have a new start, regardless of who you were. And that's why it was a giant conglomerate of people that grew in to become Americans. Like, we are everyone. Like, if that's how you want to put it. It's who cares if there's a border wall? Like, climb the fuck over it, dig under it, can't go around it, can't go over it, better go through it. Like, why can't we just get the fuck along? Be normal.
Right, and this is the thing is there's, well, okay. Do you find it, because like, I find it personally, like, disconcerting is not the word. It's like, brings my energy lower to hear when people are grifting off of a system that can be put in place for the best reasons, and they're grifting off of it because the way the policy works, they can do that. Or
What is
looking at, or like crypto, where like there are people who, instead of doing something positive for the system, they are like, well, these are the rules and I can take, which means like, I'm probably not making sense. I don't think everyone. I know. I'm trying to make sense of something that I'm not going to be able to make sense of. So just leave me be.
All right.
What does the word grifting mean?
Grifting? A different form of pulling a scam.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So, yeah.
Well, just because you can, does that mean you should? If there's no rules to stop you or a law of the land, does that not say that whether or not you have a conscience, you know the difference between right and wrong, what you should or shouldn't do? Do you have a care in your body that says I shouldn't do this because it'll fuck people over?
So you're saying it so much better than I would have been able to say it. Exactly. Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. But
that does not stop people at all. That's actually pushes them the other way.
At all.
I think the more and more you give people things not to do, they'll find a way to get around it. And it'll be probably more dangerous. I mean, you want to legalize all the drugs? Do that. Legalize all the crimes? Will there be more murders? Maybe. Who knows? But if we tell people not to do stuff, there's always a crew of people that just do it. They do it because they don't give a fuck. They don't care. That's not ever going to change. We're not going to be able to breed that out of humans.
Well, this is going to get weird because I'm going to say I do think that there are things that people will choose not to do because they don't want it done to them.
Agreed. Yeah, that's why I try to wake up and be a better person every day, because I want to not be killed or be raped and murdered. And I have kids. I got to lead by example. I'm a coach. I'm in the community. I'm a Boy Scout leader. I have people always watching what the fuck I'm doing. My neighbors are always watching me. Just because I'm a new guy in the block.
Are you doing the things you're doing because people are watching you, or are you doing things because you wanted to do them?
Both.
Now you realize people are watching you.
Both, and then I fuck with them then. Like, you want to know what an enema or like how to have a bidet in your yard, and then stop watching, just grab your garden hose and go at it. Like, they'll stop watching out their windows. You see their blinds not move anymore. If people want to be in my business, just come on over and knock on my door. If you got to complain about stuff that's going on over in my neck of the woods, like, sometimes it's better just to keep your eyes on your own paper, as long as you take your weekly look into your neighbor's basement and know that there's nothing freaky going on down there. There's a certain level of freakiness that you just don't talk about, but then, like, we just don't need any, like, kidnappings and weird shit like that. We all know the difference between right and wrong. It's just a choice whether or not we're going to follow through and act on those thoughts. I'm always aware that people are watching me. I'm one of the loudest people I know. So I draw attention. When I walk in a room, whether I'm loud or not, I have a high sensitivity to vibrations. Like, people are just boof right there. And I'm a happy person. People don't like happy people. They are quite like, let's ruin that guy's happiness because we're not.
You're right. I find them highly suspect, including Taco. He's happy all the time. I'm always wondering what the heck is going on.
I
would say that. Well, why are you happy? What makes you that way, Taco?
I've learned to look at the smaller things in life, because those are controllable. And, I think that it's all, why sweat anything that if I've put it into play, I've put my side into play. I can let other people control me, but why do I want to give them headspace?
Yep. They live rent free in your head to do whatever they want. That's on you, not them.
You know? And time and time again, I find that I succeed more when I don't allow that to happen.
So I would like to make a point about the things you're saying, which I agree with both of you. One thing I don't think gets said enough or at all is the reason why it's so hard to remind oneself of that is because our culture goes a different direction than that. And so the people such as yourselves and others who have to think about those things, and like, it's very important to keep those things in mind, but it is not easy to do so all the time.
No, it's an absolute struggle every effing day. I'm the guy in our community that people don't want in the community, but they always ask me to say the shit that needs to be said because they can't. You know, it's kind of like it's a delicate balancing act. I have no problem telling people off, but I'm also not rude about it. I'm kind and compassionate, but I'm also loud. I have a stern voice. I got the dad voice, and when it comes out, it's like people are like, "Oh shit, sit down, sit down." He's gonna yell. Oh God, he's gonna yell. You know, and it's not easy to having to have people ask you and always rely on you, like especially being a coach and a Boy Scout leader. Like I was just indoctrinated into doing it. I didn't ask to do it. I didn't ever want to be a coach for baseball, or I never played baseball besides getting hit by it at the home plate. That's not playing baseball. That's just getting hit by a ball. You know, I played football, but I'm not a football coach. I'm a basketball coach, and I don't really play basketball. So it's like, I'm the youngest parent out of my kids. Like, their parents are older than me. I'm a young parent. So it was like, oh, well, you're the young guy. You should go in there and do it. I'm like, oh, yeah, right after my 18-hour day of work, I'll just come on over. No problem. But that was asked of me, and I said, you know what? This is where our kids go to school, and I'm going to be here until they graduate, so I might as well just be a part of it. And then they slowly realized that maybe this wasn't such a good idea. He's kind of crazy.
Oh, he's got a voice. He's got an opinion.
Yeah, I don't put up with people's bullshit. Parents, other leaders, community members, if you're being a dick, you're being a dick. You need to be held accountable for it. Straight up.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I should be out scamming and doing that shit behind the scenes just because I'm which happens a lot. And you know, people come on these chats and do their spiel about their projects, and it's like, holy shit, they didn't even put water in this Kool-Aid. This is bad. You know, and people drink it anyways. You know, it's one of the best terms I ever heard when I got in. He was like, you drink the Kool-Aid today? I'm like, oh, I was bobbing in it. I just put my head and started sucking down. And I could tell. Do you hear yourself? Do you realize what you're talking about? And that's where education comes in. That's part where the people who have the Constitution to determine
here's the crazy part is, like, can you imagine what it was like trying to convince people that they should create an entirely different Declaration of Independence in the Constitution? I mean, there's a bunch of basically 20 and 30-year-olds that were doing that.
When?
1774.
Different than the one we have now? Or
no,
you're saying that's what
I'm saying is, can you imagine what it was like for the people to, like, listen to this and try to figure this out?
Oh, I can imagine it was a lot of secrecy. Like, you had to have, like, secret meetings because the redcoats will get you. Well, it's no different than our government listening on everything that we say. I mean, how many of us are they actually watching? Well, the ones who have opinions about the way shit should be. If our government took care of us, we wouldn't have homelessness. The kids wouldn't be hungry. There wouldn't be fucking kidnappings and human trafficking, all that stuff. Like, they're not taking care of. They're not doing what they were elected to do. back in our day, like not our day, way back in the
You
day.
mean 1774? Right? You're right. Back when I was in 1774.
Yeah.
My name was Abigail. And I did
love
like
your
to
dress.
sew.
Could you knit me a new sweater, honey? That would be great. But we have to go back and say, okay, things have changed a lot, but what did they do all that for? Were the presidents paid? No, they had to give up their right as a business owner. Typically, that's how you became president, is that you were probably a white wealthy business owner and landowner, but you had to give up that money and become a volunteer for your community.
Well, I think that one of the things that's like kind of tough for us to. Okay, I've done a little research on the little bit of family, not a lot because they came over much later. Little bit of family that might have been here during that time. They were probably royalists. They didn't want to upset the apple cart. They were making money. What was this crazy revolution thing that everybody was getting in their heads?
That's a mentality, though, that it shouldn't be there. That's a sentiment that people have wrong.
There's like
only
a lot of the population. I'm not at all defending it. I'm just saying the reality was there are plenty of people that were like, hey, we're here. We got this land. We got a business. Like, what are you doing? We're going to send a couple bucks back to whatever. Bags of potatoes or whatever the heck we need to send back on the road. Like, what are you doing? We finally made it. Like, we're actually... The revolutionary spirit that took a zeitgeist here and actually was able to take hold. And the reason it was is because... Let's get it right. Like, you had to send people 3,000 miles on a boat, which was pretty horrible, and then you asked them to fight. Now they're 3,000 miles away from where they used to be, and now they're supposed to fight when, like, there's land right there, and all these people are like... nobody talks about it, but it was a war of, like... It was very hard to hold on to that kind of zeitgeist if you were that far away from England and you had just been through like getting all the way here to then fight all these people.
That want nothing to do with you.
That want nothing to do with you. Like think about the psychology of that. Like, just for a second, like, think about, okay, I'm a dude who has, like, not been treated very well by the king or the crown, and then I'm on this boat, I'm wearing this red coat, and I've got to come over here, I gotta supposedly shoot all these people, and I think there might have been a little bit of an issue. So they won.
Nah, if you're down with the king and the crown, you're down. You don't question that. I would say, of course, there was guys like, what the fuck are we doing halfway there on the boat?
Right, exactly. What are we doing?
Why are we doing this?
What am I doing?
Phil.
Yeah, hey, Phil.
Phil.
Hey, Philip, go from here. I think I've changed my mind. Can we go back?
You can't go back.
Yeah, well, let's go back and we cannot go forward. What do we do?
Let's go left.
Why don't we let sneak in and find any pirate treasure and then just go to the Caribbean, forget they ever saw us, and that's what we're going to do.
I'll be looking at on the wrong part of it. Forget the pirates and just go fishing over there. Take a left at the exit, like you said. Let's go.
By the way, there was a ton of fish. Remember that? Like, the fisheries in this part of the world were friggin' insane. They were tuna. Tuna. Like, right.
Yep.
Wait, people lived on the beach?
what I mean is like, so there are pictures from my town back in like the 30s when they would have like these tuna tournaments. There was huge tuna that you see that right now are worth like $25,000 a piece or more. Yeah, they used to just get those for fun and then trash them, which sounds horrible, and I hate the idea that they did that. But that like the amount of what the people who came over here, if they recognized the wealth of resources that were available to them,
and what they squandered.
Oh, they definitely squandered. Definitely. I would say most of the generations before us, like that's kind of what they did. The boomers were like the last ones that set it up for pretty much everyone else to fail. After World War II and those babies, like that's when shit really hit the fan for most of the Western world and then, first world countries. You start getting comfortable. There's kind of a saying that goes like, strong men raise weak men, and weak men have to deal with problems, but they also now create stronger men in the next generation. So it's a cycle type of thing, but the generation that creates the problems never solves it. They're like, oh, fuck, someone else to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's why, that stuff changes, I think. I mean, I'm not a whatever scientist, but
you mean a behavioral scientist or an anthropologist? That's okay. You just like, this is the thing that I also hate about people is that when I say hate about people, I hate that people have really good points, and because they're struggling to like articulate it, people dismiss them. And every one of these people, you included, vote. That means you have an articulation of your voice. Of course, it's like,
a bumbling idiot,
like,
but that's okay.
It's focused into one box. So it's like, you can vote for this person or this person. However, I thought way a long time ago that we were supposed to educate people so that they can articulate their voices. And then, as it turns out, I guess what we were trying to do is pretend we're educating people, but like we do the bare minimum, and every once in a while somebody will figure it out, but like most of the time they won't. And this is supposedly containing the messages somehow. As they're very angry. Did you see them in New York yesterday, jumping on cars, slamming things? The young
What's up, bunch of that? You take your shit in your shoes and just go have a nice dinner in Jamaica, all right? Leave them New Yorkers alone.
I don't even know what to say to that. No, literally, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the amazing riot that happened in Union Square.
Really?
Yeah.
I live under a rock in a cave,
we will, the history books will look at King and the massacre, or like we'll look at certain things and say, this was very important. Well, it was. Why was it important? Probably because it was amplified by the media. It seemed to mean something. It had, I don't know. There were like thousands of young people in Union Square yesterday. Like a video game or a video game console of some sort.
PS5.
That's what started it?
Yep.
But that's the thing. What keeps things off? Like, sometimes they just want a reason.
Well, that's in 2003. The Minnesota Golden Gophers won the state championship in hockey, and I was working as a pizza delivery driver. And I had my
underclassmen, went to college down there. So I was like, holy shit, they're going to win. If they win, there's probably going to be a riot. And that happened. I got in my little Prelude, 89 Prelude, and I flew down to Minneapolis. It took me probably like an hour and a half, which normally would take 4 hours to drive. I had that thing pinned the whole time to get there. And no cops. I got lucky. I'm not saying it was the right decision, but I got there, and I just stood and watched. I'm like, yeah, I'm part of the riot. I'm not into vandalizing shit though, because I was raised to not fuck with other people's shit. But yeah, I'll join a mob. Let's do it.
I'll join your mob. I like that. I'm here to pillage and burn.
No. I'll put the fire. I help the people that need the help. Because there's always people that are innocent bystanders, and those are the people that need. It's like being you ever go to a concert and you jump in the pit. There's always this couple dumbasses that are just swinging fists, and it's like, that's not what this is about. Yeah, go and jump around, bump around, hit each other a little bit, but don't be swinging fists at ladies or smaller people than you. So I go in the middle of the pit and I stand my ground and I just stand there. I know a lot about pushing people out the way when it comes. I pick the people up, we pick them up, we get them right, and then let's rock and roll. Let's mount face off again. You help the ones who can't help themselves, but it doesn't mean you need to take advantage of them either.
Yeah. All right. This has been an interesting talk. I wanna thank you both for being part of this. Since you guys are both up here, as you guys know how TacoBytes goes, what do you see? What's on your guys' headlights for this upcoming week? It is the weekend, but there's what's on your headlights for this upcoming week?
Go ahead. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. For my week, I'm in the real world. I'm traveling back and forth between my dad's place and where I live with both my sons to help him out with his food truck. Okay. It's called Hound Dogs. Little selfless plug there, but he started it up. He's never done food service before, so I get there and I've never seen my dad so humble in my life. I was actually kind of like, oh shit, dude, I need to help this guy in any way, shape, or form. So I turned around, we did the shift, and my kids, one of them is down there still and helping Grandpa. And I'm going to be doing everything I can in the auxiliary power of, just getting the stuff he hasn't thought of, and, organization. Crypto related, I'm going to be focusing on our People's DAO. We are getting a couple of projects incubated, so lots of meetings to go to. And then I have a side job that is doing a giant. They're called Gibeons.
Okay.
And what you're doing nothing. You're so lackadaisical about the entire life in space. Gosh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Why don't you get with it and do a little more?
I could. I could, but
no, I'm being sarcastic. I'm amazed at all the things that you are doing. Sorry, that was complete sarcasm. I was like, you're hanging out with your dad and you're being compassionate, and he's doing that thing, and you're bringing 3 generations together. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last thing I'm doing, I got to finish up this week. It's a Gibeon wall. They're like steel cages, and you put rocks inside them. And they create a retaining wall, and it's in between a couple commercial buildings. So I just gotta get those leveled out, and that should be my week.
Sounds like a fun week.
Sounds like a big week, actually. I didn't hear the first part. Is it your son that's working with your dad on the food truck, or your dad is doing the food truck and your son is helping?
Yep, correct. Let me say it. My dad started a food truck, and he called us and said, "Hey, I need some help," and I said, "We're on our way." And so I have 2 sons, and the oldest one came back with me. The youngest one, he's 15. He stayed and helped Grandpa. They've got another event. All those people didn't turn out.
They said they'd come help and get them off the ground. No one showed up. So
his grandson did. His 15-year-old grandson decided to stay and help. That's amazing.
Well, the only reason I'm back here is because I have to take care of a few things, but I'm going back probably tonight after some work I got to do on that Gibeon wall. I'm going to do it in stages. But I also have to pick up a printer. I had to get my laminator, a computer, a square card reader for them, and the receipt stuff. Just those things you don't think of that makes your job easier. Being able to label stuff with a laminated product is so handy in a kitchen.
That's really cool. It just sounds cool. I was literally being sarcastic when I was like, "What? You're not doing enough? Like you got 75,000 things you're doing." Yeah. I really that's a nice story. It's really cool.
All right. All right. So that's some interesting stuff. Eskimo, what about you? What do you have? What do you words of wisdom and what do you have going on? What are you looking forward to this week? Eskimo.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, me. I have a lot of tax stuff that I need to figure out, and that is unbelievably boring. I'm going to be gearing up for getting on the road.
Okay.
And wondering if I'm going to be back in New York City in the next 2 months.
All right.
What about you?
Getting ready for the road. Have some stuff with Zen coming up. Have some new Degen stuff coming up. On some new protocol stuff coming up. So that's going to be exciting. Just prepping for getting on the road, heading to Denver, Dallas, and then, whether or not coming back to New York or heading over to LA and Arizona and then back to Austin and maybe Vegas and then back to New York. So next couple months are going to be sort of busy, but it's going to be fun, I think. Have some, important stuff happening in a week and prepping out to have TacoBytes 365th anniversary, So some fun stuff there. And, just all the way around. So that's what I'm looking forward to this week. I see a hand.
Yes. Still working with the Zen people. Can we still get a meeting with them?
And you can always hit up one of Ake Boom's or Jack Levin's spaces and hit them up, or directly. We can talk about that. I can ask them, and yeah.
Are you a Zenian as well?
Yes, I am. But I also work with Crypto Magazine. So that was something that I wanted to, when I first heard about what they were doing, I was like, this is kind of weird, but it's one of the few things I did get into. I don't get into too many things in crypto, but I am full-time crypto. But I'm also full-time everything else I do. I don't ever do anything half-assed. And it's places like this that allowed me to kind of expand even the horizons I do have. And so appreciate it, Taco.
Yeah.
And those who are here. It's always good to have
definitely
new information.
Definitely. And so as we wrap up, I end with my words of wisdom that I always end with. A closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth. Meaning, if no one knows you're looking for opportunity cannot come and knocking. If it comes knocking, no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. I want to thank everyone for joining TacoBytes, episode 352. Shout out to everyone that is joining us via Xenon, Twitch, YouTube, and for those that stayed around for BR1, huge shout out to that community. We covered a lot today, so I want to thank everyone for the coming up, talking, and being part of it. and helping carry the conversation. It's going to be interesting to see how TacoBytes progresses over the next year. So that'll be really fun. But I do want to, we do end with, as we end every episode, with the best worst knock knock joke on the face of the planet. And since you are up here on stage with me, Eskimo, will you help me out with this? Or Phil? Knock knock.
Who's there?